Hey, good afternoon, Dr. S. This is Susan Walton. I'm a member of your EDU 534 International and Comparative Education class. So this week we have been encouraged to try a PowerPoint or keynote along with narration. So here we go. I've never done it before, but I'm going to jump in with both feet and, well, I hope you enjoy the ride. This week was primarily based on the perspectives and perceived difficulty of mathematics. Some individuals are seemingly born math and music smart, and others flounder and often drown when it comes to math. Bartram shared on page 114, the United States is lacking in ways to find new solutions as compared to Japan. Apparently, 92% of the United States teachers show students how to do a problem and then releases them to practice it for the rest of the time. Japan practices only half the time, along with applying the concept and then inventing new solutions. Here in the United States, I have witnessed teachers moving on much too quickly for both general ed and special education students. So we're going to jump and talk about me for a while. So was schooling better in the 60s and 70s? Oh yeah, I agree that totally it was a lot more fun, safe, and I think I learned more back then than students may be learning now. Of course, that's my opinion. Back when I was a child, I was born in 1961. I had one older sister. I had my mom and dad. They're still alive in their 80s, and I had a fantastic childhood. No complaints whatsoever. It was safe to walk to and from school, 1.5 miles each way in elementary school, 1/4 mile for junior high, and 1 mile each way in high school. My mom stayed home the whole time, helped me with homework every single day. I don't remember drugs being a problem or even hearing about them until probably high school. TV news was much less shown. And terrorism, I don't even think I heard that word until I was probably in high school. And like I say, in my neighborhood, the nuclear family was the norm. So yes, there were a few negatives back in those days, and I'm going to point just a few of them out. Smog in the Inland Empire was very bad in the 1970s. I had to walk to and from school, and by the time you got home some days, your lungs were stinging so bad you could barely inhale. You have to lay down for half an hour to catch your breath. You could see about as far as a football field, and then it looked smoky and you could not see that much in the distance. Racial tensions? I don't know. I really don't think there was much, but I do remember in elementary school, I was able to hold a little African American girl's hand, and I told my mom how soft and wonderful her hand was. That was funny. Separated grade levels. We don't have that anymore. Everything's fully immersed. There's high, mid, and low in every classroom. Back then, they were totally separated. Isolation for the special needs kids. I remember never seeing the special ed kids at my elementary school, only at lunchtime. Well, Ontario Montclair School District was definitely different back when I was a kid. I was, like I say, fortunate to attend Kingsley Elementary School. I went to Vernon Junior High School for 2 years, and all 4 years I went to Montclair High School. Violence, I don't remember was that much of a big deal. I don't remember a whole lot of racial tensions even in high school, maybe just between the Hispanics and some African Americans. I remember back when I was a child, my mom and dad would pull up the newspaper and they would compare our school scores as to other schools in the district as well as schools in the surrounding areas. And Montclair, Ontario, we're always about in the middle, and Kingsley Elementary was maybe above normal. But after, high school, then it was getting later on, and, the scores just started to go down. Kingsley Elementary School was a lot of fun. I had the best experience. 750, maybe 800 students, 3 classes per grade, 30 each. I don't remember any overcrowding. Like I said, they were always separated by ability, low, average, and high. I was always in the high achieving, sometimes even in a combination class, because that's where the individuals who could independently work were placed. Special education, again, they were secluded at all times. Junior high and beyond, I did attend junior high and Montclair High, all within 1.5 miles of my house. We always had the same friends to walk with, and we rarely had new neighbors because no one ever moved. Chaffey Community College I went to for a year, then I joined the workforce. I did get married at about 25, had a couple of kids. Then I found myself 20 years later divorced, and suddenly I was a breadwinner, so I had to get a new career. I went back to college. I signed up for Chapman University. It turned into Brandman University, got my bachelor's degree, Then I went on to get the teaching credential, worked for a couple years, and now, of course, I'm here with you, earning my master's in my education area. So the local experience, back to math. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say something. Lower test scores for California as compared to some other states. I believe Arizona and Texas are in the same place as we are, but our scores are lower because we have a lot of immigrants. We have kids that come in at all different levels, mostly the kids that come in without speaking English. They're taking tests and they're scoring poorly, so it drags our scores down as well. When I was an aide and before I was a teacher, I did work with a young man in a class, and a little girl came in, 3rd grade, not a word of English. And by the time a month was over, she sat next to a bilingual girl, and she was speaking short sentences. And by the end of the year, she was speaking good sentences, and she was bright. So as far as the more public schools getting on board with inclusion, I think they're getting on board pretty quickly. Charter schools, they're ahead of the public schools. And discussing math further, I did forget to mention that when I was at Brandman, the most difficult course I've ever taken since kindergarten until my day right now has been statistics. There was a teacher there that was very helpful. He was a new instructor. He came in early, worked with us 4 ladies, and he stayed late working with us 4 ladies that were really having a hard time. He was selfless. He helped me get a B in a class I probably could have failed. That was one of the only B's I've received in the last 10 years. So moving on, the global comparison. We've been reading all kinds of articles about England and Finland, and the most recent one I was checking out was Singapore. And I'm going out here and just saying, where are their special needs and do they get tested? Where are the mod severe kids? Are they secluded? You never read about that. Whereas in California, I know for a fact they're tested right alongside their peers. It's fully inclusion. Most of them at the charter school level. Public schools, like I said before, we're definitely coming on board too. England, they're in the right area for having preschool inclusion and all through the whole set of grades. Page 40 in Bartram talks about that. Singapore, they have a school for special needs kids to teach them a vocational skill for after high school if they don't score high enough to go into the secondary education. Finland, they adopted that full inclusion since 2009, and of course their scores have just been going nowhere but up. There's no concrete information to show how the special needs population is tested with the general education kids. I keep looking and looking for more articles to explain that to me, and I have yet to find something to really clarify something. In closing, I just want to say that I appreciate your time listening. Hope this is long enough, and I hope this was covering what was needed. I will definitely polish my final project. Thanks for listening.